Ross from Retro Dream Beam. I'm about to go into what we were shipping out today on Tuesday, so it was like a mediocre day, but we're just gonna jump right into it. So the first thing is this: it's called Warhammer Mighty Empires, like little wizard tower. It was like a promotional type of Warhammer thing. I'm not too sure if this is for like official Warhammer 40k, or I'm sorry, like their main game Warhammer 40k and Fantasy have all these side games. The only reason why it doesn't look like the normal Warhammer 40k to me is they have these hex tiles, which I don't remember them having because you normally play on like your own board or table, and then it has like these pieces look smaller than normal, so maybe these are for like a smaller version of whatever Warhammer Mighty Empires is. This sold for $17.99 plus shipping. I have two of those. The other one I had were like one of the pieces needs like a glue repair, so that's probably why this one sold first. All right, move along. We have this board game right here, Planetarium. I haven't played this one. I don't even remember where I picked it up. But this, when I was looking at it, like the front and back right here, so you have the front, you got the planet, a bunch more planets and like more information about it. I didn't recognize this board game company. It says it's by Game Salutes right here. So this to me is it reminds me about how board games are made by like a bunch of individual people. There's not I mean there are some big companies that make a lot of board games, but in general most people make like 1 to like 10 or something. So you get a lot of people, and I can tell this was not made by like an original board gamer. They must have played some board games, been really intrigued because they're putting like a lot of like care and effort into trying to put some like factual stuff into this, like little facts and stuff. They're trying to make like a concept that they understand, like the planets and stuff, into a board game form, which is really cool. There's a couple. Is there one? Do I have it over here? I don't know if you can see it, but there's gonna be one called Fog of Love, which I think like a psychiatrist or psychology person made. So they said that they you can just tell when you're playing these board games that someone who's not a board gamer completely made it, but that's the beauty of board games. You have all of these different like people coming in making games. You get to explore what's in their head and like what they thought would be cool as a board game. So yeah, a lot of these board games that I've played where I can tell like this wasn't a board gamer first end up being really intriguing, because sometimes people who play a lot of board games so have a lot of concepts kind of stuck in their head. It kind of like ruins the some creativity because they're thinking of like other board games they've played and like what mechanics and art styles they want to incorporate in theirs, into their game, where you have these people that come from like the outside and then they don't really have these preconceived notions. They just like, I want to make my game, I have the money to do it, I'm going to do a Kickstarter, or they just have enough money and then they make one game. Sometimes people just make one game, they're happy with it, they never go back to the board game community and they're like, oh, that was awesome. And then a lot of people end up liking them. So that's why people pick up these games. It's sold for $21. I know that was a lot of talking on that one, but like it is why board games are intriguing to me. You just have a lot of different types of people and games to explore. It's not like the same old, same old. All right, moving along. We have a lot of 8 of these like children's books. It's called The Talking Mother Goose, Their Fairy Tales. It's not like the full set. We have Little Red Riding Hood, The Ugly Duckling, The Sleeping Beauty, Grasshopper and the Ants, Rapunzel, a couple other ones. This ended up selling for $20. I don't even remember where I got this. It was probably from like an estate sale or something like that, or an auction or an auction house or something. Yeah, it's been a while. It was cool because this like kind of like it's kind of heavy and it takes up a lot of space. So now I have more space in the bin to list more stuff. But I do like listing other stuff. It doesn't have to be nerdy board game stuff. I do like the books and everything. All right, moving along. We have some magazines. Speaking of non-nerdy, kind of. Nexus magazine right here. I don't know too much about this. I want to say we got this from the people that were like cleaning out their parents' storage units. It kind of looks like it's trying to be scientific, but also not really, because they're talking about like paranormal, invisible, like people that you can cloaking technology. So they're talking about like maybe like a bunch of, I don't know if it's like conspiracy or something. Really well done, like cover and stuff for all these different magazines. So a lot of 5 of them sold for $13.50. A person messaged us asking us if we can do media mail for this. We cannot for magazines. Unfortunately, you cannot. There's ads. There's a bunch of other rules. You'll get in trouble. You'll probably get away with it if you try, but I wouldn't recommend it. So I told them. So I was thinking, okay, so they have a total in their head they want to spend, right? Because like for us, we get money off of the sale price. We don't get money for the shipping because we charge shipping, right? But for a customer, all they care about is what they pay at the end of the day. So it's like item, taxes, shipping, and if there's anything else, if it's like going international, they just care about the total. So I said, hey, you can just send an offer, because they were just talking about the base price. We weren't talking about an offer. They sent an offer. It was still good. So I like to always like throw in a little bit more when someone's like kind of like, oh well, I'm not going to get the sale unless it's media mail. And then I'm like, well, they're thinking about price, and I can negotiate with that. So you always got to just be like thinking about what the customer is thinking about. So that's pretty good. All right. Moving along, we have an incomplete sprue for Warhammer 40k. This is like a chaos tank right here. It's gonna be a bunch of like the little accessories that you add onto the tank. The vehicles go for a lot of money. Some of these things can go for like at least 100, 200. I was looking at someone's store the other day that has a bunch of Warhammer 40k stuff, and I saw them sell a lot of like the tanks and vehicles. Warhammer 40k. I mean, you see us sell the sprues and the bits and pieces all the time. This ended up going for $20.99. I have a buddy of mine that reached out buy stuff from them all the time. They know we do eBay. They said that they have some Warhammer sealed stuff, so I might do a quick video if it's enough stuff to do a video. If it's only like 4 or 5 things, that's not a video, but that's will probably be in the weekends. All right. So I finally get to get some complete stuff instead of like bits and pieces. Did I say how much that sold for? $20.99 just for one incomplete sprue. All right, moving along, we have these are 2mm. These are going to be, I sold a couple of these, so 2 packs, so combo order. They're super tiny, guys. I wouldn't, even if I wanted to, I wouldn't be able to show you. I would have to be like really zoomed in. These are called irregular miniatures because someone told me that's what the brand, I originally had no brand. I just had all the details and the size on it, but they told me if I put irregular miniatures, that more people would look at and buy these. And I did. I changed all my listings. Took like 20 minutes. Not a big deal. I had like 30 or 40 listings, but this is another pair of these that sold, and a lot of other people were watching the other ones, or at least clicked on them because we were able to send offers. So yeah, these two sold for $44.98. They said that people, if I changed it to irregular miniatures in the title rather than it being like no brand on it, that people would be looking at it more, and that they would want to buy it from me because there's very little on eBay. And then to buy it from the company, the person said it takes like 2 or 3 months sometimes for like shipping for whatever reason. That's what they told me. So, all right, moving along, we have this right here. This is in a container. I don't remember where I got this one. We love grabbing like little tchotchkes, keychains, pins, all the small stuff. Very easy to list, easy to store. I would say my only problem is we only get so many free listings to even with paying for like a store subscription, you only get so many listings. So that would be my one wall of like being careful with listing like a couple hundred stuff. So it says the Dark Continent Bushes Gardens from Tampa, Florida, right there. So it's like a little keychain. I don't know if you can see it too well, but yeah, this ended up going for $13. We did like really well when we first started eBay with a lot of just small stuff. We were like shorter on space, no storage units. Yeah, did a lot of patches, pins, needlecraft, needlepoint stuff. Well, those are a little bit bigger, but they're kind of like lightweight books where they'll be in a baggie and you can kind of like slot it in somewhere. Really good stuff. I know someone recently that got a bunch of good stuff for themselves, so it's awesome for them because it's a really good category. All right, moving along, we have Catan right here. This is going to be the rule book, and then they're like a little. I think this is a little catalog with their other products, and this is like a little sticker of like a Catan board. If you don't know what Settlers of Catan is, so actually some people might know. This is kind of like a board game that kind of I think was the ramp into a bunch of people getting into board games. I would say this kind of made board games like this is like a historical game, like no joke. And sorry, not that you're like it's historical in here, but a lot of people started with this game. It's super popular. It's kind of like the gateway game where people play this and then they start exploring other games because they're like, I didn't realize board games aren't like Monopoly anymore, and this is like the game that did it. It's gone through a couple company changes. It used to be Mayfair Games at its peak popularity. I don't know today how popular it is, but it was super popular. I'm still just going to assume that this game's super popular. I know a lot of people that just play Catan only. So the game is there's no fighting. You just roll dice, and then you'll have these little houses throughout this like hex map, which have different like minerals and resources. If the numbers rolled, you'll get one of those resources. If you have like a house next to like a mine, you'll get like the stone or whatever. And then if you have like a house next to the field or whatever, you get a sheep. And then there's a mechanic in the game where you get to trade people. You can say like, oh, I'll give you 2 sheep for that. And then there's like 5 or 6 things that you can spend your cards on, and the first person to get 10 points wins. That's basically the whole game. But a lot of people like the trading parts. A lot of people like it because it's just simple. You on your turn, you roll the dice, people get stuff. You then have a chance to make one thing or trade or both. And then it's the next person's turn. They roll the dice, 2 dice, 2d6, and that's it. And you're kind of like building up stuff on the board. It's really relaxing. It has really good art, really good aesthetic. So yeah, super historical game. This is a lot of people have gotten into board games from this. I played a bunch of Catan when I first played it. It's a weird one where a lot of people play a bunch of board games and then they kind of get bored of Catan. I would still play it. You just got to play. It goes up to 4 players, I believe. You got to play 4 players because if you play like 2 or 3, trading becomes not as fun. You want to have more people with resources on the table to make it like the trades nice and intriguing. All right, $11.99. One to repeat buyer. I know I talked a lot about that, but we're almost done here. So I just want to let you guys know, like, actually how important Catan is as like a board game for people, because I know a lot of people that watch that aren't into board games or don't know like I guess like the history of them. All right, next up is going to be this HeroClix last item, HeroClix map. This was by a company called Mighty Maps. I happen to remember this because I was playing HeroClix from like it was 2011 to 2013. Down here, this said this was made in 2013. This is Undercity Waterway, and then on the other side it has like another one. So these are maps. These are what you play the HeroClix on. Think of this as like a chessboard. If you don't know what I'm talking about, for HeroClix, you roll out this map. Everyone puts their pieces, their Marvel or DC characters. There's also other IPs, but we're just gonna stick with that. And then you're trying to defeat enough points. Usually there's like an hour time limits. But these maps were by a secondhand company. I liked their maps because I liked how like the images on the maps are just crisper. The different terrain types will have like green outlines, blue outlines to show you, or brown or orange to show you like what's different terrain and how to interact with it. And I just thought that these maps always were crisper, like as in just like more clear to see, and I thought they were more intriguing. This ended up selling for $6. So this is a blast from the past for me. That was not mine, but I did pick up a bunch of HeroClix maps at an auction. Then I saw those. So I was like, oh, I remember those. Yeah, nothing too crazy. Like I said, $6. But like maps are kind of easy to get now for HeroClix. They used to be kind of more rare, but that's a whole other story. I already rambled a bunch. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hope everyone's having a good start to their week.